Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are watching this video. My name is Yousef Hosseini and I am a hypnotist helping people to get rid of their addiction. Today I'm going to help you with 3 tips in order to get rid of your addiction. It can be addiction to cigarettes, addiction to eating, binge eating, and other kind of addictions. I'm going to explain this to you based on my triangle of addiction. I hope you can see this triangle. The first thing of this triangle is a trigger that makes you go and do the thing that you don't want, the thing that you are addicted to. Trigger that makes you go and smoke cigarettes, go gambling, eat. So the top part is a trigger. The triggers are things that reminds you of doing things. For example, if you have a glass beer, I have a pocket glass beer in your one hand, and you have used to smoking cigarette, and this hand was always full with cigarette, and this one with beer, for example. So when you don't smoke cigarette, you have this one, and this hand is free. So this hand used to hold a cigarette, so you miss something and you get a cigarette. These two are coming together. So beer drinking is a trigger for your smoking cigarette in this case. So you see something. One of the triggers are coming from our 5 senses. One of them is you see something. People are visual. So they see something and they notice that they are missing something. Okay? So you see, for the people who are visual. Sometimes you hear something and that makes you go do something that you don't want or you always did. Okay? So you hear something. For people who are auditive. The third one is when you feel something. Okay? The emotions which we have fall under this category, feeling. You see, when we are born, okay? When we are born, we cannot talk, so we cry. We have pain, we cry. What does our mother do? They give us food and they hug us to drink milk. So our subconscious mind, that part of you that exists inside you, get used to it. It says to make a program. It says when I had pain, I ate, and I had warmth, and my pain went away. So now you are adult, but the program is still there. So you have pain. What do? You are going to eat, for example. Okay? So this is there are the emotions that we are trying to suppress with this addiction. Okay? So feeling and emotions is coming here to place as a trigger. The fourth one is that when you prove something, when you taste something, okay, you taste something and that reminds you of something else. Okay, and this is the The fourth, the tasting. And the fourth one is smelling. Can you remember? Maybe you go somewhere and they have bread, fresh bread, the baked bread, and you just smell it, and the smell reminds you of something, and this can be trigger to do something else. So I smell bread, and then remind me of the time that I, for example, ate something, and then I'm going to go eat that thing because they are associated with each other. So the trigger is the begin of tasting, smell. That is the begin of taking action to have our addiction. Okay? When the trigger is started, there is some urge, some behavior, some urge and behavior that we are going to do something. The trigger has started something, and we begin urge our subconscious mind, or that part of us, to make sure that we are safe. It says to us, yeah, now the trigger is started, we have to do something. The urge comes to you, and then you take your action. You take action. Your action can be taking a cigarette, begin eating, and whatever as addiction. So as long as the triangle exists, our addiction stays the same. So what we have to do, we have to break these connections. How do we do that? You see, it's the same thing as fire. When the fire is going on, there are two ways to stop the fire. First of all, remove the fuel, so it doesn't have any more fuel, it's going to stop, or just cut the oxygen to the fire, and then it's going to stop. It's the same thing. We have to break these things. How do we do that? You see, we can do that with, I'm going to give you 3 tips in order to get rid of this addiction. The first one is to know what your triggers are. So the first thing is to have a logbook. Have a logbook, write to yourself, write, today, that is Monday, I had trigger. I saw something, and my seeing something just give me the urge to do something. So keep a logbook. Keep a logbook in order to write your thoughts, what was your trigger, and what you did with it. Then you become aware of the fact that you have a trigger, aware of the fact that you have urge, and aware of the fact that you took action to start doing that in a logbook. It has to be really simple. But first thing, you have to want to stop your addiction. When you want to do that, then there are tools in order to help you to achieve your goal. Okay, so you have a logbook, you wrote what the triggers are, what for urge you had, and then what action you took in order to do your addiction. And the second one physique. When you have urge, there are some feeling inside you, and this feeling is associated with the configuration, how how you hold yourself. So if the urge is the same way as I stand, so I'm going to sit, change my position, change my form in order to do that. For example, if you are hungry, if you have the trigger, you have wrote it and say, okay, I have a trigger, now I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do some push-ups, for example, okay, in order to break the format that I am in at that moment. Okay, so change of your physical change is really important. If you are standing, just sit. If you are sitting, stand up. And then if you are, maybe do some sport, something that takes your mind away from the action that you don't want to do. And the third one is dehydration. Especially for the people who want to lose weight. You see, the signals of hunger is the same as signal of thirst. So you think that you are hungry, but you are thirsty. So my advice is that, it was the third tip, is that just drink water. 1 glass of water every half an hour. That makes sure that your body is not dehydrated. So when it's not dehydrated, you don't get a signal from your brain that you have hunger. Okay? So as a summary, triggers make you go and do the things that you wanted to do as addiction. And triggers can be visual, auditive, feeling, tasting, or smelling. That's these things. 5 senses can be the beginning of the trigger. And then you have an urge because the trigger has started it. You have an urge to do something, and then you take an action, and that is your addiction. Now, I gave you 3 tips. First of all, have a logbook. Have a logbook for yourself to say, okay, what was my trigger? What was my urge? And what was my action? What did to it? Okay. Okay, that is your logbook. And then change the physique when you are feeling the urge. Okay? For example, if you are urging to go eat, just go around, run or walk. Just change your position. If you are standing, sit. If you are sitting, stand up, and just change the position that you are in, because that makes your attention goes from your thing that you don't want, and then you forget it in the long term. The third one was the third tips was dehydration. I asked you to drink just water every half an hour, glass of water, because your body may be really dehydrated, that you go and have something to eat, or maybe something to smoke. Just drink water. Okay? I hope that you can use these tips. If you need more information, please just visit my website www.hypnohelp.nl. So I have more tips and more information, and maybe we can contact and then we can talk together so I can help you. Thank you for your attention. Peace.